presentation here. Yeah, cool. Thanks for coming along tonight. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kieran and I'm a graphic designer from Nelson, just switching careers into the tech industry. So my project, I'll just take you through a little bit of an overview of the design and all the planning process, and then we'll do a live demo and afterwards hopefully leave enough time for questions. My project name is Guiding Light, and basically, to give you a bit of a high-level overview, it's an application for assisting with observations of the night sky here in New Zealand, and it's also aimed at providing a resource for information about Maori astronomy and also a little bit of mythology. Excuse me. Now, the background of this, the reason why I chose to do an app like this is that I think most people are pretty fascinated by the night sky and learning. I in particularly like learning about different stars and planets and constellations and how to recognize them in the night sky. And being an import to New Zealand from Australia, I was really impressed when I came over here that the Maori people had such amazing star lore. Like, yeah, it was really impressive to me. And personally, I want to learn more about it. So I think most people probably would like to learn more about it. The situation at the moment is there's not a lot of Maori astronomy in current apps in the industry. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a gap that this app can take advantage of. Yeah, so it's the education and entertainment industry. And I'll just move along for, yeah, okay. So before I started out here, I did a little bit of research and I looked for, in particular, Maori astronomy resources to see kind of how hard it would be to make an app like this, where I would get the data from. And a few kind of 100 names survive, but a lot of them are lost. And there's a lot of different names for the same star. So I did know that it would be a challenge starting out. And I even contacted Rangi Matamua from Living by the Stars, asking him what kind of things he would like in an app like this. Yeah, so I knew it was going to be a challenge, but I forged ahead anyway. Oops. So the first thing I did was figure out what kind of features I would like in the app. And also I looked at the most popular stargazing apps like Sky Safari, and Stellarium is one that I've used in the past. I knew the scope was not going to be able to cover an app like Stellarium, so I had to narrow down what I really wanted in the core features, which was a moon calendar and a star catalogue, and basically the interactivity for users. Yeah, so any other features were just a bonus in the time that I had. The tech stack I decided to use, the languages, TypeScript. I chose TypeScript because I wanted to sort of keep up and use the most recent sort of technologies, and Next.js for front end, Next.js also for back end. And the database I chose was MongoDB, and to talk to the database, Prisma, and yeah, Prisma and the API folder for backend routes. And for styling also, I chose Tailwind CSS. I knew it was going to take quite a lot of time, so like planning was essential. So I've got a nice timeline here, breaking down all the tasks and assigning them, yeah, and having a couple of milestones that I really wanted to get done at that certain point. I kept mostly to it, but yeah, I did run out of time. Okay, this is just a basic user flow, showing what a user has to do to launch the app, sign in, go through to the navigation and home. Just skip over that. That's a database model. And I wanted to have the user able to make favorites and also make discoveries. So the idea was that I wanted the app to have a night sky map with the stars that were in the sky at that point in time. So it's more like actual real life stargazing, where you notice a star and you're like, oh, I wonder what that star is, and then you learn more about it. So basically the idea was that they could click on it and add it to their discoveries. Then after all that planning, I started designing. I gathered up inspiration, and then I made a logo, a couple of logos actually, with this Matariki constellation that we all know. Chose some colors and some fonts. And then I did the UI design and exactly how it would look, how I wanted it to look. Okay. So with that said, I will take you into the app. It's defaulted to the sign-in screen, so we'll just go back. Oh, bear with me. Okay, so here's our loading animation, and I've done kind of a nice fade in. I'm really ridiculously happy with this, by the way. And yep, I'll sign in a user just to show you. So testing is fun. And yeah, once you sign in, it just takes you to this basic run through of how to navigate the app. Very basic at this stage. Our homepage is this Maramataka moon calendar. So it'll give you today's date and the month, and you can also navigate back and forth through these moon phases, and underneath you've got like a description of what the day might be like for you based on the moon phase, and it defaults to today's date. Yeah, and this is a custom SVG that I made, so I had to make 30 of them for each moon phase, which was fun. I like that kind of thing. I'll take you now to the discoveries section. And at this stage, it's a little slow to load. So I want to implement some infinite scrolling, but yeah, there were just too many bugs and I ended up taking it out. Another cool thing I did was the code to change the star color based on like its brightness value index, which is astronomical data. So I pulled in that astronomical data of that and did the calculations to convert the colors to RGB. So I thought that was pretty cool. I also got some really, really cool images from Adobe Firefly for each planet. So if we maybe just move that out the way, I'll show you responsive because it's way more impressive. Yeah, so we got, and this was the only amount of Maori sort of data that I could put in within the time frame. The time was just too short to go through all of it, and it was nowhere. I couldn't find any APIs or anything for the Maori data. I've got some user favorites and some hot toast notifications when you favorite. Okay. And also, I've managed to do the actual constellation shapes from the data, which is really cool. I was given like geometrical coordinates and I had to figure out kind of how to make that look like a constellation and put some stars on each sort of a corner. Yeah, so I've done that with the asterisms and the constellations. Yeah, got a little flip card and some information, and you can also filter by the Maori information. I've only put 1 star in there so far. Yeah, and you can also search for particular stars. Now, I didn't get to do my night sky map. It was just too much to do in the time frame, but I've created a feature branch, and that's the next thing that I'm wanting to build. And then we've just got a basic settings dashboard page where you can sign out or delete your account. Okay. In Postman, I've got, we can run a GET request to get all the discoveries. This should hopefully work. And there they all are. Okay. So yeah, I think in conclusion, my app does kind of meet my goals that I set out to achieve. We have the Maramataka interactive calendar, and we've got the card gallery. So yeah, and I think it has a really good basis for building on from where it is at the moment. I'll put the GitHub link in the chat for anyone who wants to look at the code some more. And thank you for listening. And now I'll pass over to questions.
It was very beautiful.
Thank you.
Just so many things to ask about on that app. There's just so much good functionality. It looks amazing. I don't know how you had the time to do this. I was going to ask you about the moon, if we could see the SVGs for that. It's just...
Oh yeah, sure. Probably, yeah, probably in my code I can show you.
I was actually thinking about that, if you could have done something with a CSS clip to create a single rendition that could animate across or something interesting like that.
Yeah, I probably could simplify that code a lot. Like these were all done in Illustrator, and I just didn't have the time to kind of look up how to simplify it. I mean, with the star constellations here, I've done it because I actually found an example of a twinkly star. So all I had to do was kind of map them to the right constellation. And yeah, but yeah, given the time, I would simplify them a lot just so it makes page loading a lot easier.
Which CSS library did you use for this? Is this Tailwind?
Tailwind CSS, yeah. I find it quite intuitive to use. Yeah.
Did you run into any difficulties with using Next.js in your front end and your back end?
Not too much. Like I found it quite simple to have, like, I kind of was questioning, is this it? Like, is that all I have to do? But I think like definitely the API structure of the routes and stuff took a long time for me to get my head around, and I had to do quite a lot of practice with it before I kind of understood what I was doing. But other than that, no, I kind of found it pretty straightforward. The hardest thing was finding like tutorials that were current and using the API in the app folder. So yeah, that was kind of hard. And Nextauth gave me a lot of headaches. Like I wasted probably 3 or 4 days on just Nextauth for authentication, and it still isn't like storing a session. So I've done that through context to get the username. Yeah, so I'm not sure. That would need probably a good week to get it running properly. Yeah. Any other questions?
Karen, is this built in for mobile app?
Yeah, so I did mobile first design, and then I just built up from there. So yeah, I started with the mobile, and yeah, then just styled the rest, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But yeah, it would make a really good mobile app, I think.
Well done.
Yeah. I thought that was super cool, how you spent a bunch of time at the beginning kind of researching what the audience and the use case was be, and going mobile first, like you said, you'd be out and about utilizing that. And obviously that makes the best use case from a tech perspective. So cool, you went mobile first. Cool as well, even though timelines were tough, you tried to be really diligent around focusing on what your MVP would be as well. And then it was really cool to see your dependency chart of your waterfall workflow as well, and trying to stick to it. Like I was laughing that it's impossible to get right, and sure enough, you just missed your final thing, and that's going to be normal. You're always going to have extended deadlines, but it's always good to be ambitious and try and meet them. So it was super cool. One last thing for me would be the data ingestion. I'm not sure if you covered that, but where the data came from and how you ingested that into your app. So I saw when you made that request in Postman, there was quite a hefty payload. I'm curious around where that came from and how you ingested that.
Yeah, okay. I'll see if I can take you through that. So we've got the app API. Most of the data came from like astronomical JSON files. And I made the decision because I was going to add Maori data to it. I needed to save it all in my database. So I've got a heap of helper functions here. So that brings in each type of data. There was 4 different separate types of data. And so I've got those, and then a data endpoint, and I've got a save to database where it just like combines the data into a new single array, so that when the discoveries page handles it, it's all together and it can be filtered. Yep. Cool. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, really neat. And nice to see you experimented with combining our front and back end within a singular Next.js project. Cool to see.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing work.